India is choking on toxic smog, with cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata among the most polluted in the world. As the air quality index hits alarming levels, schools are shutting down to protect kids from the toxic air. But here's the catch: this solution isn't enough, especially for the children who need schools the most. In a country where millions rely on schools not just for learning but for meals, social services, safety, closing them only deepens the divide. And while you have the economically backward section struggling to keep air purifiers for the children, it's only the privileged class that can afford air purifiers for their kids. So, is closing schools the right answer? Or is it time to tackle this crisis head on with a solution that protects all children? Should there be air purifiers, and should air purifiers be made mandatory for all schools across India, especially those cities that have an AQI problem? You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. As of December 16, 2024, India's air quality has been labelled as poor with an AQI of 123 nationwide. But in cities like Delhi, the situation is far worse, with an AQI of 217 categorized as very poor. Cities like Mumbai and Kolkata are also battling high pollution levels, with AQI readings of 164 and 172 respectively. This constant pollution has wreaked havoc on the health of citizens, but the consequences for education are even more troubling. India Today Global has been covering this story very closely when it comes to the larger perspective and picture of how air pollution is a problem and how different countries have tackled it differently. But let's take a closer look at what's already being done when it comes to schools and air pollution. In Delhi and the National Capital Region, authorities enforce a series of emergency measures called the Graded Response Action Plan, which is GRAP. When pollution hits the severe plus level, an AQI of over 400, GRAP stage 4 kicks in. What does this mean? Construction activities are halted. Trucks carrying non-essential goods are banned, and older diesel and petrol vehicles face restrictions. Industries are forced to scale back operations, and public health advisories warn people, especially children and the elderly, to stay indoors. Schools often switch to hybrid learning models, with younger students attending online classes to limit their exposure to the toxic air. But here's the problem: while GRAP is a vital emergency response, it doesn't address the underlying issue for the underprivileged. For millions, staying home isn't a safer option. Poor ventilation, overcrowded homes, and a lack of air purifiers mean these kids are still breathing polluted air, even if schools are closed. When schools close, it's not just the education of these children that's disrupted, it's their entire lives. Many of these children depend on the meals, social services, safer environment that schools provide. Without schools, they lose access to critical resources and routines that are essential for their physical and mental development. The longer this continues, the greater impact on their future. So, what are countries like India doing as a social welfare state? Are they thinking for their children? How much are they thinking? Are they willing to put it in their budget? To discuss all this and more, I'm being joined by a youth environmentalist who's been a student activist since he was in school and now advises big corporates as well. Abhir Bhalla, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Let's begin with the fact that you have school closure every time air quality goes bad. But what happens to the economically weaker sections, children who come from economically weaker sections? Do they find any relief in school closures?
Well, the simple answer is not at all, because there is such a vast disparity that exists across different sections of society today, that we look at, we look at our own didis and bhaiyas, our support staff in our houses, and when it comes to them, they can't take a day off, right? Unlike corporates, they don't have a fixed number of leaves, they don't have plans. So when it comes to parents who are from socioeconomic weaker backgrounds, um, they don't have any sort of planned options for having more devices, or they can't take a work from home. So when parents aren't home to support their kids, there's really no way, especially for the younger ones, that they can go about attending online classes or switching to the virtual medium so easily. And of course, the whole other conversation is around how it's affecting children's mental health, their development, their growth, with more and more online classes actually leading to interpersonal skills not being developed properly.
True. Also, Abir, the fact that having to leave your children home alone. I mean, how many from our part of the society, our segment of the society would really allow that? They cannot hire people to take care of their children because they have to really go out and work. So the children being left alone is in not so safe environment is also a concern for every
Absolutely.
parent.
Houses are staying at home is not the solution when it comes to air pollution, because in a place like Delhi, even the indoor air quality is really, really terrible. And air purifiers, A, are not affordable to large sections of the society. And B, they can't be everywhere, right? You can have them in your car, you can have them in your homes, but a large part of society can't even afford those, and you can't be in an air purified environment 24/7. And when it comes, as far as your point about leaving kids at home is concerned, it's just not an option. I mean, my mother would never leave me alone at home when I was a kid,
Absolutely.
and most parents who want to be good parents to their kids would not feel comfortable leaving their kids unattended.
While wealthy families can afford to stay indoors with air purifiers, children from lower income families and economically weaker sections face a different reality. They live in poorly ventilated homes, often in slums, where the indoor air quality can be just as bad as outside quality of air, if not worse. For these children, staying home doesn't mean breathing easier. It just means inhaling dangerous levels of particulate matter, often with no access to the clean air that an air purifier can provide. But the issue goes beyond just school closures. The educational disruption caused by the air pollution crisis is creating a deepening divide between the rich and the poor. Wealthier families can afford to send their children to private schools that are well equipped with air purifiers or even online education tools and gadgets that are required to be prepared to study online. On the other hand, children from economically backward sections are left without a viable alternative, often facing a significant gap in education that can lead to higher dropout rates and decreased academic performance. It takes a toll not just on the health of a child, but the total development of that child. So, what's the solution? Should we just keep closing schools every time pollution worsens? The answer is no. Instead, India needs to take a more sustainable approach to protect its children from the harmful effects of air pollution. One simple yet effective measure is the installation of air purifiers in schools. It is indeed the responsibility of a government to ensure that the children, citizens of this country, are healthy. The future of this country is healthy. With air purifiers in classrooms, children can continue to learn in a safe, healthy environment, even when air quality outside is hazardous. This solution not only ensures that education isn't disrupted, but also protects children from the immediate health risks posed by pollution, which, for the economically weaker sections, they really cannot afford even if they stay at home. Countries like South Korea are already tackling this issue head on. South Korea has set strict regulations requiring air purification systems in schools, focusing on young children and those with special needs. The Ministry of Education has even established a standard for air cleaners, mandating specific clean air delivery rates for classrooms. As part of this initiative, nearly 100,000 classrooms are being equipped with new air purification systems. If South Korea can make this happen, why can't India? Why is there only a blame game that continues between politicians, political parties, administration, civil society, and activists? Investing in air purifiers for schools could protect millions of students, allowing them to continue their education without risking their health. Studies have shown that air purifiers can significantly improve indoor quality by removing harmful pollutants like particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and allergens. With air purifiers in place, children can breathe easier and stay healthier without missing out on their education, especially when they have parents and both parents have to go to work and cannot afford to sit at home to take care of the children whilst schools are shut. And this isn't just a temporary fix. Investing in air purifiers in schools is a long-term solution that can help future-proof education in polluted cities. Air purifiers are just one piece of the puzzle. The government must also take broader steps to address the root causes of pollution. Stricter emission regulations, cleaner industrial practices, and improved public transportation systems are all essential to reduce pollution in the long term. And more importantly, there needs to be an emphasis on renewable energy sources that can help cut down harmful emissions. Furthermore, community engagement is key. Many underprivileged families are unaware of the steps they can take to improve indoor quality of air. By providing resources, raising awareness, and supporting families in reducing pollution exposure, we can empower communities to take control of their environment. Public health campaigns could encourage the use of affordable air purifiers, promote better ventilation practices, and educate parents about the dangers of pollution. Closing schools during pollution spikes may seem like an immediate fix, but it's not a fair or sustainable solution for India's most vulnerable children. Children from economically weaker sections of India need schools, not just as places of education, but as safe havens from the dangers of the outside world. By installing air purifiers in classrooms, governments can provide a safer environment for all students, regardless of their socioeconomic status. At the same time, systemic changes to reduce pollution and support the underprivileged families are crucial for a healthier, more equitable future. It's time for India to move beyond temporary fixes and take decisive action to protect its children, its future, and its air. Only then can we truly ensure that every child has access to a safe, healthy, and uninterrupted education. This is a problem that affects us all. The fight for clean air and better education is far from over, and it's up to all of us to demand action. That's all in this episode of Statecraft. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.